Why is it that we expect the rubber seals and gaskets in our E46 to last longer than they actually do? That we're shocked when they start to leak after 80 to 100,000 miles. Crazy, right? In this video, I'm going to give you the cost breakdown for replacing the seals, gaskets and filters in your E46 BMW so you can start budgeting to get the job done sooner rather than later. So let's get started and have a look at your filters. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is your air filter and cabin filters. The standard air filter for the intake on your E46 is going to run at about $12 to replace. Now there's a couple of options available for upgrading to a performance air filter which will fit in the standard air box. Like this one from K&N is around about $50, but there's others available as well. Jump online and have a look around if you want to upgrade the quality of the standard air filter to a performance air filter. Now the next thing you also want to replace in terms of looking after the air quality, and that's the air quality inside the cabin of your E46, replace the cabin filter. So a good tip here is when you replace the air filter on the intake, replace the cabin filter as well. Particularly if you're a smoker. Well, you don't smoke in your E46, do you? Oh, how about those Broncos? Now the next one obviously is your oil filter, and as I said in my earlier video, every time you change the oil, make sure you change the oil filter as well. They're only around about $7, comes with the sealing O-ring for the cap and also a new drain plug washer as well. The next thing is the fuel filter. I can't recall offhand what BMW's suggestion here is. It's probably around about every 50,000 miles you want to replace the fuel filter on your E46. The fuel filter is going to set you back about $50 unless you buy a genuine BMW one, and I think they run about 120. Bit of a dark horse here, which is often overlooked. There's a filter in your power steering reservoir. So when you're changing out your power steering fluid, buy a new reservoir because it's got the new filter in it and change that at the same time. Just to interrupt this video for a brief moment to remind you that this is the third video in my three-part series on the cost of maintenance for your E46. So if you haven't caught up with the first and second video, I've posted a link below in the description so you can click on those when you finish watching this video. If you're enjoying the video, you can give us a like and a thumbs up at any time, even now if you wish. Thank you. Okay, let's get straight back into it and have a look at the drive belts for your E46. At the front of the engine you got your drive belts. There's one for the accessories and one for the aircon. So by the accessories we mean your water pump, your alternator and power steering. That's this long belt here. There are plenty of places online where you can look it up and find out exactly how it goes together. About $15 for that belt, and smaller belt for the aircon, around about $15. On the aircon side there is a tensioner, so I'd recommend replacing that because that'll stop any squeaks and rattles. You can also get a service kit, so that will include the two belts and the idler pulleys and the belt tensioners, around about $180, which is really good value. So if they haven't been changed for a while, it's not a bad idea to replace it. Just make sure you order the right kit because they went from a mechanical tensioner to a hydraulic tensioner. Don't make the same mistake I did and order the wrong tensioner and then you're going to have to send one back and get it reordered. Yeah, it's frustrating. So that's your accessory belts. What's next? Let's get on to seals and gaskets. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to start at the bottom of the engine. We'll have a look at the dipstick O-ring. Can't believe they got that out in one take. Only a few dollars, and it's one that's often overlooked, but it will cause an oil leak. Fairly easy job to do. Might as well get it done for a couple of dollars. Moving up from there is the oil pan gasket. $20 for the oil pan gasket. All your cost associated with that is in labour. It's a really time-consuming job to do because the subframe or the K-frame's got to drop down. You're going to have to support the engine, remove the oil pan, put your new oil pan gasket in, clean everything up, subframe back bolted in, top up with oil. It is the sort of job that you can do in a garage with the car up on jack stands. There's probably 2 days work if you're doing it yourself and probably a day's labour if you're getting a workshop to do it. Very expensive job, but it's one that's going to need to be done probably every let's just say whenever it starts leaking. Moving up from there, you've got your oil filter housing gasket. Fairly easy job to do at home, half a day's work roughly. And while you're doing it, you might as well replace the Vanos feed line, which is I think about $35 and about $10 for the oil filter housing gasket. While we're in that area, the valve cover gasket's about $35, and also the sort of job that you can do at home by yourself. Allow a day to do it, and I would suggest while you're doing it, have a look at the, what's it called? The intake manifold gasket. The intake manifold gaskets are around about, let me check my notes, $20. The valve cover gasket and the oil filter housing gasket are two jobs which, if you buddy them together, do them at the same time, are two really good ones to knock off your list. Now, one that I'm going to mention, which I didn't mention in my 5 oil leaks video, is the rear crankshaft seal. Now, the reason I didn't mention it previously is because it's not the sort of seal which is what I class as a common failure item. Most cars at some point it's going to need to be changed, and depending on how frequently you change your oil and how you drive your car and that sort of thing as to how well it lasts. But certainly if you're doing a clutch and flywheel change and you've got the gearbox out, how much is it? $15 for a new seal. You might as well change it while you've got everything out. It'll save you the worry of having to pull your gearbox and flywheel out just to replace a $15 seal at some point in the future. Add that to your list while you're fiddling around with your gearbox. I know I'm going to do it. So that's it, folks, for part 3 and the filters, seals and gaskets and the cost of maintenance on your E46. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, the link is in the description, so you can click and watch that now. Also, you can help me out by giving me the thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, and please leave me a comment. What do you think is going to be your first maintenance job on your E46 now that you've got all this information? Leave me a comment below so that we can share it with our other E46 viewers. If you'd like to watch one of my earlier maintenance videos, you can click and watch this video here, but you can also watch the video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy most by clicking and watching this video here. I've really enjoyed your company. Thank you very much for watching, and until we meet again, look after yourselves, stay safe, and TTFN.